Governor Kemp, thank you for being here. Good to sit down with you again. Great to have you on The Source. On the news that we heard today, Governor Nikki Haley saying that she is staying in this race no matter what happens on Saturday. Do you support that?
Well, I've said all along, you got a process that's playing out in the race. I'm glad the RNC or whoever the powers that were trying to inaugurate, President Trump to be the nominee didn't do that. I think it's best to let the process play out the way it's designed. Certainly it's up to Nikki Haley's, her campaign and herself to decide whether she wants to keep running or not, and she is, and so I support that. Of course, if I was in the Trump camp, I'd be continuing to put pressure on her to get her out. So I think that's the way it's supposed to play out, and we'll see what happens on Saturday.
One thing she said in her speech that stood out to me, she said, "We don't anoint kings in this country. We have elections, and Donald Trump, of all people, should know that we don't rig elections." Do you think Donald Trump knows that?
Well, I think that was a pretty good line for her situation. But she's right. We don't need the processes to be rigged. They need to play out. And, you could ask Trump if he knows that or not. I mean, I wouldn't be able to answer that for him.
We've talked about the election, but on the 2024 race generally, you have been very concerned about Republicans winning and what that looks like. And something you said recently, that you said it's unacceptable to you that Republicans have not won the popular vote for 20 years now. And you said, quote, "As bad as Joe Biden is, this election will not be a cakewalk." Do you think that Donald Trump can win the popular vote or just the election period?
Well, I definitely think he could win. I definitely think he could lose. And that's really what my point is. I mean, we need candidates, I think, to be able to win and to be able to win in November of 2024, to be focused on the future, to be telling the American people what we're for, why they should vote for us, not why the other person's so bad. I mean, look, there's plenty of bad things, in my opinion, about Joe Biden and the way he's governed the country. But also, I think you got to give people a reason to vote for you. And that's been my message, not only just a few weeks ago, but also a few months ago, I was saying the same thing.
How do Republicans do that? What does winning look like for them? Because you're someone who was able to successfully win re-election in your state when it was an open question initially when we talked then. What do they need to be running on come November in your view?
Well, I think looking back, take the border, for instance, right now. The reason the border is a disaster is because we didn't win the 2020 election at the presidential level. We got beat. We lost the election. Therefore, you're seeing bad policies that have created a disaster at the border. So it's imperative that you win to be able to get into positions like I'm in, where you can actually govern. And if you look at my re-election campaign, look, there was plenty of distractions, people trying to talk about this issue or that issue, and we kept telling the people of Georgia what we're going to do for them. What our record was, like getting the economy going, coming out of COVID, not backing down to people that were pressuring us, not to reopen or to shut back down, and to keep our kids in the classroom, and not to defund the police and go after bad criminal actors and, Antifa and other people that are trying to burn down the city of Atlanta. We didn't get distracted on these other issues, and that's what we need to do in the presidential election, in my opinion.
And when you talk about how that happens, the Republican National Committee is obviously a part of trying to help other Republicans get elected. I wonder, what you make of Trump being in the middle of kind of maneuvering to this takeover of the RNC. He's putting in a loyalist in charge, his daughter-in-law also, both of whom I should note are election deniers. Do you think that's going to put Republicans in a good spot for this fall, or do you have concerns about that?
Well, look, we'll see. I've had concerns about the RNC and their ability to get the vote out and to get the early vote out and to raise enough money to be able to help candidates on the ground in Georgia. We had to do a lot of that ourselves, and I'm not trying to, pick at anybody that's in the state party, the national party, but it's just the fact that, we could not rely on them to get the vote out. We've had to do that ourselves, and I think that's a concern that, any campaign, whether it's Nikki Haley or Donald Trump or anybody else that's going to be running, you got to have a good ground game. You got to raise a lot of money to get the vote out. We don't need to wait till Election Day to do that. Quite honestly, the last couple of cycles, we haven't done that. If we had we'd have won close states versus losing them.
I want to talk about something that happened in your home state last week. We all watched that dramatic testimony from the Fulton County District Attorney, Fani Willis. Based on what you saw, do you believe that she should be disqualified?
Well, listen, we've had a political process there that, believe it or not, has gotten more political. And we certainly saw that last week. I've got to be very careful about what I'm saying here because, as you know, I was subpoenaed to be a witness in that grand jury. And so I really don't want to speak too much other than, what I've said all along is I followed the law and the Constitution, but I've been very concerned about that being a political process. And I think now Fani Willis is seeing how political it can get on the other side.
Well, there was this effort, though, by far-right Republicans in Georgia to try to sanction her or defund the investigation. You pushed back on that and said, this could create a precedent and have backlash that y'all don't really see what's coming. I mean, do you have concerns that now the public won't accept how she conducts this investigation if she does stay on?
Well, I would just say 2 years ago, we started pushing legislation to have oversight for district attorneys. So we have a lot of district attorneys in the state, and they are around the country. They're not following the law. They're not going after the people that they need to go after to keep our local communities safe. And so we worked with the General Assembly to get a bill passed. Last year, there was a lawsuit on the constitutionality of just one small part of that. The judges basically sent a signal to the legislature that we need to fix that, and so we're in the process of doing that right now. But the commission has been made up. It'll be a commission of district attorneys' peers that will look and see if there has been violations, and there'll be a process for the public to be able to file complaints, just like we do with our judges in the state. To me, that is the law. That is how this should play out if people have issues with Fani Willis and would like to file a complaint versus a bunch of politicians doing that.
You think it should be in that process? If she is disqualified, though, it's an open question of what happens to the investigation. And I think, what's at the heart of this investigation has nothing to do with the complaints about her and the questions about her, the allegations about her. Are you worried that Georgia voters may not get justice in this case if she is disqualified and the case falls apart?
Yeah, I would just tell you that 6 months, 8 months ago, I never thought this case would go to trial before the election then. And I think most people think that's the case now. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't think voters should get too distracted on all of this and just stay focused on what's at hand going into November and let Judge McAfee make his ruling based on...
And you'll trust his ruling?
Well, listen, I believe he's a good man. I mean, I appointed him, and I think I'm very confident that he'll be, a constitutionalist, if you will. He won't make up the law. He'll follow it, and we'll see what his ruling says.
You mentioned that you're a witness in that. You were also contacted in another investigation into the election and the efforts to overturn it. That was Jack Smith, the Special Counsel's. We reported that your office was contacted. When did you sit down with Jack Smith's office, and how long did you talk to them for?
I don't know exactly when that was. It's been months ago, but really didn't last that long. I basically told them the same thing I told the special grand juries, that I followed the law and the Constitution and answered all their questions truthfully.
Trump is making an argument right now that is in the hands of the Supreme Court, where it goes that he has broad immunity from being president and that he can't be prosecuted for anything he did while he was in office. I wonder what you make of that claim.
Well, listen, I don't think anybody's above the law, a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, myself, or anybody else. So that's my personal opinion.
Do you think that those cases should go to trial before the election so voters can make a decision based off that?
Well, listen, I think most voters probably feel the same way I do. We're a country that was built on laws and the Constitution, and it's up to us really as elected leaders to be the ones that exemplify that in a lot of ways. So we'll see where the process plays out. I think probably they will be ruled on for the election.
Governor Kemp, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.